Good evening and welcome once again to the F1 2021 League for the Korea Gaming League. We are racing in Portimao this evening, and let's get right to the results from the previous race. So you can see quali at the end of, quali the last race, IMTJ pulled out in front with a 1:15 flat. It was a very satisfying start to the race, basically. Venom came in second with a .02087, Humid third, 0.196 behind. So it was quite a close quali session, lots of people going out, pushing as hard as they possibly could, and as you can see, the best sectors were actually split between the guys quite nicely. From there, we went into the race, obviously. And there we see the race stats. Humid winning the race once again with a 46. So Humid out in front, Jarvis in second place, Mello in third. Mello, one of the new guys that have joined us, and doing very well in one of his first couple of races. IMTJ finishing in fourth, and Venom in fifth position. Humid got the fastest lap, and Mello got the driver of the day. Mello actually making up quite a few, five places during the course of the race. Longest stints on the day, we had a mixed session race, which is always fun to watch. Obviously, people trying to adapt to the different sessions and to the different conditions and so on. And the mixed session race did very much mix things up quite nicely. Venom had the longest stint along with Boosted on the wet tires, the full wets. Mello, Humid, Jarvis, and IMTJ and Moz all had 16 tires on those wet tires. Average lap times, you can see there's quite a bit of variance. Mello putting in the fastest average laps on that wet tire with a 1:27.008. As far as what was that consistency? That longest stints. And then fastest laps, we had Humid out in front with 1:19.930. A great lap from him, but only a thousandth of a second quicker than Venom, who pushed as hard as he possibly could, most of Humid's time coming in that first sector. Humid also had the third fastest lap, and Jarvis with the fourth, IMTJ with the fifth fastest lap. So as you can see, quite a decent spread of people there, not just one person filling up the fastest lap board. That's always good to see. All of those were on the soft tires, so probably towards the beginning of the race. Now, this is a new stat that we've managed to bring up to share with you guys. We have the pure race pace analysis. So pure race pace is essentially you look at the best sector times of each driver and take those sector times and add them to each other. So that driver's best first sector, that driver's best second sector, that driver's best third sector, they make up one lap. And this is what this graphic is. So Humid with the fastest pure race pace, a 1:21.996. If he had managed to hook up all three of his best sectors in one lap, that's what he would have sat with. Jarvis was the second fastest as far as the pure race pace is concerned. IMTJ 1.390 seconds back. So you can see there was quite a difference between Humid and Jarvis's pure race pace versus the rest of the racers. And then this is this consistency graphic. So this basically shows how close the drivers were to getting the same lap times over and over and again. And you can see Sebi managed a pretty good run, a pretty consistent run, which put him out at top. His average difference between his lap times was 1.195. Aphrodix, the second most consistent, Boosted the third, Moz the fourth, and finally Porty the fifth most consistent, but not great. You can see it's a 1.2 rating. I'm not sure how they work out those ratings. I haven't looked properly into it, but an interesting bunch of stats. So that leaves our standings looking like the following. On the driver's side, we have Jarvis from point one out in front with 68 points, Humid in second, 57 points, INTJ in third, 48 points, losing a place to Humid after the last race, Aphrodix in fourth, Venom in fifth. So the guys up at the top, obviously Jarvis and Hubert very close together. IMTJ not too far behind. Aphrodox having to play a little bit of catch up. He had a couple of issues with a couple of races. So he is having to catch up, but I'm sure he will be doing his best to do so. Mello, showing that 999, which means that the last race was his first race. So he jumps up to 7th place, and he'll be one to watch going forward. Team standings, we have Mercedes out in front with 88 points, Aston Martin in second place, 67 points, taking the place from Williams, who have 60 points, Alpine getting up there with 31 points, taking the place from Alfa Romeo with 23, Red Bull in 6th place, AlphaTauri in 7th, both of those on the same points, and McLaren in 8th place. So with that, let's head over to the quali session, which is already underway, and let's see what people are able to do. Alrighty, and you can see there's a couple of times already on the board. We have Sebi at the top with a 117.213. Dark Fox is actually Aphrodox. He has changed his name to that's a 117.617. Humid going to the top of the times with a 117.162. So far it's a decent quali session already. Everyone already in the 117s. Spread fairly well inside that range, but everyone in the same second. Righty, I think D2A1 is on a lap, so let's follow him around the Algarve circuit. So, just checking a couple of things out. Alrighty, so that is everything set up on my side. We should have no more interruptions. I see one of the Mercedes spinning around turn 8. That is a very interesting uphill right-hander. It's a very low traction zone. It's very difficult to get through there while pushing, especially if it does end up wet at any point during the session. So D2A1 going around the final couple of corners. This long right-hander is turn 15, and he heads up the hill heading towards the start-finish line. Right there he crosses at 118.982, so not quite on the pace, but looks like he might be pushing for a second lap as he throws himself into the first corner down that hill. Some massive undulations on this track. The height difference is incredible here, and it makes for a very interesting track. This is one of the 2 DRS zones that D2A1 is going through now, down to the hairpin of turn 5. Oh, it goes very wide there, has to lift off to make sure that the game does not invalidate his time through the kink of 6, down into 7, which is the beginning of that weird up-hander, right-hander. Stays very far away from curb this time, so maybe hit the curb last time and feels like he can't take it as much as he might need to. That is not an ideal lap. You can see it's very difficult to spot your braking points with the undulations, and this is now 4 seconds off the pace, so I don't think this is a fast lap anymore. So we'll follow Jarvis around. Jarvis is currently running around on an out lap. You saw he got a couple of fastest laps on the previous race, so let's see what he can do. You can see him going through this roller coaster section of the track, heading towards this quick little hairpin, which is turn 13, held up by his teammate, but I think Venom might actually be on a hard lap, or possibly just giving him a little bit of tow through here. So we'll see what Venom does. If Venom can, actually no, Venom goes off to the pit. So Venom on an in lap, Jarvis on an out lap. and Jarvis starting his lap now. So heading down towards turn number 1, that massive downhill, and then throws himself into that corner, takes a lot of the curbing on the outside through both sections of that extended 1, 2, 3 corners, up to turn 4 and into the DRS zone. DRS wide open very quickly, very nice, and 700ths down on his time already through the hairpin of 5th. Now around the kink into the 7-8 combination. Takes a lot of curb on the inside, manages to keep it pointed in the right direction, so timing his acceleration well. Coming to the end of sector 2, going down the turn 11, gets a faster sector 2, 5 tenths up already, 5.5 tenths up on his previous time. So this is a good lap by Jarvis. It should put him, if he keeps improving, it should put him in 3rd at the very least. Through the long right-hander of 15 and onto the pit straight. Stays a little bit further to the right than he started his lap, and there it is, a 117.267. So only 0.05 off Sebi's time of a 117.213. Jarvis will be kicking himself, wondering where he lost that time. Definitely wasn't in that middle sector. That middle sector was blisteringly fast. And Deadpool has now retired from the session. Looks like he came out of turn 4 and maybe just overcooked it a little bit. Let's go have a look at INTJ and see whether Deadpool is still on the left hand side. There he is indeed. So definitely overcooked it on the exit of turn 4 and ended up in the wall, and that is the end of Deadpool's session. He does have a time on the board, so if anyone else does get disqualified or doesn't set a time, then he will start ahead of them. So we're actually on with IMTJ at the moment. We're going to follow him around. It does look like we caught him on a lap. He is throwing himself into those corners quite nicely. Lots of trail braking through that corner. That is turns 10 and 11. It is actually a combination corner at the top there. You can kind of see it if you look at that section of the track. You can see that there are 2 separate sections to it. It looks like a tightening corner, but it is actually 2 separate corners. Through turn 15, the final corner of the track, stays very close to the right hand side, almost takes himself into the wall, but apparently it was the right thing to do. 116.693, so a very strong lap from IMTJ, putting himself at the top of the timesheet. Humid will be wanting to put out an answer to that as he goes around 13. He'll probably be looking to start a lap as quickly as possible and get after that 116.693 of IMTJ's. IMTJ getting, I think that's IMTJ? Yes, I think that's IMTJ getting out the way of the Mercedes and bringing out the yellow flags over there. The Dark Fox currently on an out lap, so let's see what he can do coming through the end of the second sector. We'll watch how he goes through here. He will be trying to keep his tires warm, but at the same time not pushing too fast, not pushing too hard, not wanting to take too much out of those tires before the lap, and trying to keep the tire temperatures down so that he can push a little bit harder through the lap itself. It also means that when he gets to the beginning of the race, he is then able to run a little bit longer into the race if he has kept his tires nice and cool. So heading down the hill, down towards turn 1, as you hit the bottom of the hill, already turning in before he gets to the bottom of the hill, so taking a little bit more of an aggressive line than we've seen before. Round the turn of 3, getting as far across the right hand side as possible before having to turn into 4, has a good line through there. DRS wide open very early on, gets across 9 thousandths of a second up from his previous time, so this is looking like he's pushing quite nicely as he gets through turn 5 and 6 and heads down towards the complex of 7 and 8. This is where it's so easy to lose so much time. Looks like he gets through there nice and smooth, nice and stable. Possibly a little bit of oversteer at the top of the hill, but that's not too much of a problem. Goes through 9 into 10 and 11. He does have a little bit of an issue with trail braking, and you can see it there once again. He heads out just a little bit too wide and invalidates his lap. So the Dark Fox not managing to put a lap together this time, so we'll follow Mello around his teammate from this point going forward. Unfortunately, Griever, who was then the other Alfa Romeo previously, is going to be unable to join us for a while. So Melo has filled in for him instead. Sebi is on an outlap as well. The two of them trying to get out of each other's way, but that resolves itself fairly quickly. But we are going to keep on board with Melo as he goes around the track and gets ready for his hot lap. So Melo's still quite close behind Sebi, which is not necessarily a bad thing with the longer straights of this track, but it can be difficult through that undulating back section. So let's see how Melo does as he starts lagging a little bit there. But let's see how he does. Throws himself into the first corner. A good line through there, it looked like, but he does go a little bit wide. So Melo already invalidating his lap very early on. We'll follow Sebi around now. I think Sebi may have popped up. It looks like we have a random joining. Hopefully that doesn't mess anything up. It looks like Sebi did manage to pop up, so I don't know if that was actually a false outlap or whether his outlap was just particularly quick, or maybe it was just an installation lap. Okay, so Sebi still on this lap, pushing through the final sector. Round turn 14 goes into turn 15, this very strange, very long right-handed corner. Over the line he goes. 2,000th down on his previous time of 116.930, so not enough to take him up a position, but a decent lap nevertheless. Humid currently on, looks like he might be on the lap. Moz, his teammate, has moved out of the way, so Moz not on a lap, and we can sort of assume that he will be. That was a little bit of oversteer as he came through the hairpin of turn 5 into 7 and 8. So easy to lose it here. Went a little bit wide there, but if you can extend the track like that, you absolutely should. It does add quite a bit of time, or does it help find you some time. Gets nice and open on the entrance to 10-11. Down the hill, nice and easy, nice and smooth. Through 13, sorry, the hairpin of 13. Then round the long corner of 14, which looks quite a lot like a lot of the other corners here, but isn't actually a corner complex. Comes onto the start finish straight and goes nowhere. Possibly an outlap, possibly aborted his lap early on. Looks like he is pushing as hard as he possibly can this time though. Just barely gets that car turned around, throws himself out to the outside of the corner and then straight to the apex. Down the second DRS straight, he has found himself 0.03 of a second. That is not quite enough to do what he needs to do, so let's see if he does find some time in this middle sector as he goes into 7 and 8. Will have to push as hard as he possibly can. We're right on board with him. So through 9 into 10 and 11 complex, you can see how weird the line is through there. Takes a lot of the apex off the corner and gets up by 0.08. That's still not going to be enough. He needs to find 0.3 of a second. And Venom has actually gone ahead of him in timings as well. So as he goes around 14 into 15, he is going to be trying to push it with everything he has, but I don't know if he's going to be able to find that much time in a sector that doesn't really have that many corners. He finds enough to put him into second place, but that time by IMTJ, a blisteringly fast time, as we can see. IMTJ going for another one. Not sure if he got it. Unfortunately, the timing screen disappeared just as he crossed the finish line. So that is the end of our qualifying session. IMTJ definitely up at the top. There it is, a 116.693. Humid in second place with a 116.821. Venom with a 116.905, and Sebi, the last of the 116s, with a 0.930. All of those within 2.5 tenths of each other. Very good run by those four drivers. Everyone else did fairly well as well, actually. Outside of Deadpool, who had to retire early, and D2A1, who I think was struggling with his Ferrari, 1.5 seconds only separating down to P9. Alrighty, so now we wait for the guys to fix up their race plans, their strategies, and hopefully Peter Nell, who looked like he joined at the end of that session, doesn't get put onto the grid. Otherwise, we're going to have a bot on the grid, and that's never something that we really want to see. Hey there, how you doing? Alrighty, so the guys are readying up. Let's see what happens. Righty, and here we go for the start of the race. Looks like we do not have a good takeoff for IMTJ. Humid already harassing him. The two Mercedes have gotten away pretty well. Sebi looking at the inside line, but deciding not to push his luck too much. Falls back almost immediately. So the two Venom and Humid pulling up ahead. Venom looks, oh, that looks like there was some sort of contact there. And that has led to one of the Mercedes, I think it was Venom, and Sebi spinning out. Looks like there is that's Mello in the Alfa Romeo in the background, also spinning out, heading through corner number 4. So let's see how that affects the race. Already a little bit of damage to some of our runners. Deadpool running wide as well there, but out in front IMTJ and Humid already making a bit of a lead. 2.5 seconds already to the Dark Fox in the Alfa Romeo, with Moz right on top of him, 4/10 back. So that was quite a hectic start of the race. Unfortunately, we missed a lot of the action itself, but we can already see that there are a couple of battles throwing themselves up. That was, I think that was Deadpool once again going wide there, now letting Sebi past him as they go around the corner of 13. So quite an interesting start of the race. 1 lap down almost already, and as you can see, it's quite a quick lap around here. There's a lot happening all the time. Deadpool already getting a 3-second penalty for track limits, so struggling with the track. Possibly has a little bit of damage, but definitely struggling with that track. Jarvis is now in the pits, Sebi in the pits, Deadpool in the pits. Those three obviously getting damage in that initial melee. And as they come out, it looks like, okay, no, they haven't. They've just gotten into the pits. It looks like the Mercedes is coming out first. Yes, the Mercedes of Jarvis is getting out first, Sebi next, and then Deadpool finally there. So back on the track, we have IMTJ, then Humid, then Dark Fox, Moz, Potty, D2A1, and Venom. Venom right on the gearbox of that Ferrari of D2A1 as they head through turn 8. Let's see, you can see as that car just does not want to stay planted, and that is very typical of turn 8, but manages to keep it in the right direction. So off they go down the hill and then back up it once again as they go through turn 13. Still the closest battle on the track so far, but Moz and Dark Fox are close together and heading onto the pit straight, where they will get a very strong tow down this back straight. So let's see what happens here with Venom and D2A1. Venom is looking at that gearbox, is ready to pass, gets right up close to him, looks at the inside line. Let's see if he sticks to it. No, he pulls out a little bit and then tries to get a better run through there. Doesn't carry as much speed as D2A1 and loses a little bit of time. Once again, doesn't carry as much speed through there, but looks like he does take a much better line, so he should get a good run on D2A1 and will have DRS this time to help him make the pass happen as they head down towards turn 5. Decides better of it, not close enough to make a lunge down the inside there. Someone just got another penalty. That was Mello getting a penalty for track limits. Humid is 6/10 back from IMTJ, so harassing him all the way through here. Moz in 4th place. Oh, Venom and D2A1 have switched places, and it looks like turn 8 has claimed its first victim in actual racing in the form of D2A1. So Venom and Mello both getting ahead. Jarvis and Sebi now fighting through the hairpin. They will be fighting as they head down towards turn 8. Not the greatest place to have a battle. Looks like Venom has gotten up ahead of the Dark Fox as well. The Dark Fox did look like he was moving a little bit slowly on the map, so I wonder if he maybe had some sort of spin and has lost a couple of positions down to 6th place with his teammate Mello just behind him. So Jarvis still the Dark Fox has retired. That is very interesting. I wonder what happened there. Possibly got a little bit of underfloor damage or something from that initial bit of contact that we saw at the beginning of the race, and maybe just not feeling like the car is actually drivable. That is unfortunate for the Dark Fox, especially since he is fighting for the championship to an extent. So that is really unfortunate from his side. His car does look like it's trying to come out. Hopefully it doesn't get in the way of this battle between Sebi and Jarvis. It does not, and they go through into turns 1, 2 and 3 without any problems. Deadpool now coming up on the stricken Alfa Romeo as it pulls off to the side there. So Humid and IMTJ still out in the front, still fighting, 7 seconds ahead of Humid's teammate in the form of Moz. The Vibe in esports definitely looking like the stronger team tonight after point 1 showed such a strong showing at one of the previous races. They managed to separate the two Vibin guys. So let's see if the point 1 guys manage to find a little bit of speed and catch up to the guys out in front. In the meantime, Porty out of OC, he is right on the tail of Mars. We know he has pace, so let's see what he can do as he goes around. Dark Fox telling us that as he went through turn 1, he got closed out and unfortunately hit the yellow sausage curb on the inside, and that led to floor damage. So it was the floor damage that I suspected, and that is really unfortunate for the Dark Fox, and hopefully he'll have a better race next time. However, speaking of better races, Sebi getting the fastest lap of the race with 1:19.5, trying to make up the time that he lost by having to pit early. Looks like the sky is quite cloudy. I'm not sure if that means it's going to rain. It doesn't look like it's getting too much darker, but possibly something to keep in mind. Obviously we don't get we don't actually get the forecasts as spectators, so the guys will have seen the forecasts and will be deciding what to do, whether to push, whether to hold on to their tires, and when that rain is likely to come. So IMTJ trying to break the toe to Humid not having any of it, following them to the other side of the track, very close together as they go through this corner complex. Humid will want to be as close as possible as they go through turn 4, because the DRS zone is right there. IMTJ obviously not getting DRS with no one in front of him, both of them flashing red, so that shows that they have used quite a bit of their ERS to keep this battle up. Humid staying behind IMTJ through this through turn 5, once again into the complex of 7 and 8, and fairly calm through there. So Botti has backed off from Moz, a second behind now outside of the DRS zone. I'm sure he will be wanting to pull that back when they get closer to the DRS zones, and you can already see that he is quite strong down the straight. So I wonder if Botti is running a slightly lower downforce setup to try and increase his passing potential, not wanting to rely on the DRS to make those passes, and hoping, oh, that is the Ferrari of D2A1, looks like he struggled with 8, and that is the Alfa Romeo of Mello. That is an odd place to go off. Mello has left the session, so I wonder if he had a disconnect and that's actually spun him around. So his car is now actually a ghost. So let's hope it doesn't cause too much damage to anyone else. But Mello leaving the session, possibly losing internet connection, or maybe the game crashing. I know a couple of people were having issues with game crashes today, so I wonder if that's maybe what's happened there. D2A1 behind Sebi at the moment. Sebi obviously had that fastest lap of the race just now. D2A1 a little bit too far back to get DRS. In the meantime, out in front, okay, there's Mello back, so that's just a little bit of an internet issue. Humid now still trying to chase down IMTJ just on the edge of that second mark. I wonder if he is trying to just stay out of the dirty air and preserve his tires a little bit longer. So we have the Mercedes of, who's that? That's Venom's Mercedes. Random yellow flag, doesn't look like anything too bad happened. Maybe went off the track a little bit at some point. D2A1 now behind Jarvis as well. So D2A1 not having a great race, falling back down the order a little bit, but currently running in 9th place, and will still be getting points. Deadpool in 10th will be getting 1 point. D2A1 2 if they manage to finish in this order. So back out in front, IMTJ is still leading over a second ahead now from Humid. So IMTJ has obviously is very comfortable with the setup, getting through here, keeping it smooth. Will be trying to preserve his tires, but we don't know what level they are at the moment. And Humid will be trying to push as hard as he can to try and put some pressure onto IMTJ to either force him to make a mistake or otherwise to catch him on the DRS straights. So we can see IMTJ didn't look like he was flashing too badly as he went through there. Doesn't look like he is flashing at all, in fact. So I wonder if he's been managing to... there's the flashing, there it is there. So that flashing means that they are under 10% or under a certain amount of the ERS. Normally it's seen as 10%, so the fact that he is flashing down there means he has used a lot of ERS to try and keep ahead of Humid, and does seem to be working. 1.2 seconds ahead now, which means Humid is very much outside of the DRS window, which is 1 second, 3/10 down on the DRS window at the moment from IMTJ, and they will be chasing each other. So that Humid might have decided that he is going to wait until the DTA1 is spun again, and doing that little flick thing. He will have cooked his tires a little bit, so let's see what he can do. Doesn't look like he's pushing too hard, trying to keep the car on the track. Decides to go around for another lap, so not coming in and getting rid of those tires right away, but did have that spin. So D2A1 with the spin, keeping on the track, 9th position still. IMTJ having a good race so far, those soft tires still carrying him on as he takes quite a wide line through 14 and into 15. You can see Humid is not flashing nearly as much as INTJ is, so I wonder if Humid has maybe just saved up some of his ERS, although he did flash at the end of the straight, so maybe pushing a little bit harder now. D2A1 spinning once again, this time out of the hairpin of turn 5. Hi there, where are you hoping to join from? We are open to new entries, however, I think for the moment we are going to be looking at locale to be able to decide whether you're likely to have a lot of lag or not. Okay, so Sebi and Mello have now passed each other. Sebi is staying out, Mello into the pits, Jarvis now ahead of Mello as well. So Mello, the first person to go into the pits. I assume this is for a standard pit stop. Yes, it is indeed. Back onto the soft. So Mello looking like he's going to do a soft medium, or soft hard, or otherwise he is hoping for rain before the end of the race so that he does not have to run on any of the less fast tires. D2A1 getting a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's unfortunate from his side. It looks like he might be serving it already, as it hasn't come up on his name. Deadpool going a little bit off track there once again, and looking to be lapped by the leaders very shortly. Speaking of the leaders, IMTJ 1.4 seconds ahead, so not increasing his gap that much as they head around. D2A1 has just been lapped by Moz as well, so D2A1 has been lapped by the front 3 runners. And I'm sure it won't be too long before Venom laps him as well. So up at the front we have IMTJ in first place, Humid in second with a 1.5 second gap, but that is changing quite a lot. Sebi and Potty fighting it out as they head down through, where even are they? That is turns 1, 2 and 3. Looks like Potty is not entirely happy about being passed, so he will push through turn 4 on the medium tires. He has stopped once at some point on the medium tires, looking at turn 5. Oh, that is very close, getting very close to the gearbox of Sebi as they go through turn 5. Now through 6, 7 and 8, this is just a game of survival. And then onto the weird little kink section of turn 9. So you can get quite close here. You can try and push here, but doesn't look like he's going to risk it. It has dropped back a little bit, 6/10 back, but I'm sure he's going to be pushing quite hard. And that is an interesting choice by the Aston Martins. It looks like they have actually timed the double stack fairly well. Yes, indeed. Moz's pit stop happens immediately. Venom does take the place on track and does actually go up to second place on track. So Venom currently running in second place, but will still be a net fourth so far as I believe. Looking at the timings, Humid will be trying to get past him as quickly as possible, because the longer he spends behind the Mercedes driver, the more his tires will wear out, and he's not doing himself any of the favors by having that much oversteer, especially on these medium tires. They might be a little bit cold still, which may have led to that loss of traction, but he will also be affected by the dirty air from Venom. In the meantime, Mello putting in the fastest lap of the race in the Alfa Romeo so far. So Humid right on top, once again getting a snap of oversteer there, 4/10 back as he goes into turn 15. 4/10 still, so he will get DRS going through here, and it should be enough to get him past Venom. So you heard the DRS beep there, you can see the DRS is on, gets past Venom almost easily with the help of the DRS. Venom didn't look like he fought it too much, but he wasn't going to move off his line, and he is absolutely entitled to that. And that is IMTJ. So IMTJ coming out on the hard tires just to get ahead of Humid. So that fight with Venom holding Humid back just long enough for IMTJ to avoid the undercut. But IMTJ is on the hard tires, and Humid has been out for another lap, which means that Humid will have the warmer tire. Oh, that is a touch, and that is both of them into the wall, and that is a terrible accident for both of them. IMTJ definitely having wing damage. Humid looks like he is all right. That is really an unfortunate event that will definitely be investigated after the race. Unfortunately for IMTJ, that looked like a lot of wing damage, and going around this track with wing damage is just not fun, especially on the hard tires. So IMTJ will likely have to pit again at the end of this lap to have any sort of pace going into the rest of the race. And you can already see Moz and Potty right on top of him on those slightly softer compounds, medium compound tires, heading around. And Venom goes into the pits. So Venom losing that lead of the race. Humid out in front now. D2A1 getting a time penalty. Was ahead of IMTJ. IMTJ, as I said, it would have to done this. You cannot race around this track with a broken wing and hard tires. It just doesn't work. So IMTJ tumbling down the order all the way down to 6th already, as Jarvis comes up into 4th place, getting past his teammate Venom while in the pits. So we have a very much shuffled order now. We have Humid out in front, Moz in 2nd place, Potty in 3rd, only 4/10 back from Moz. So Potty and Moz fighting each other. Moz getting a snap of oversteer coming out of turn 5. Jarvis in 4th place, Venom in 5th, Mello in 6th place, 11 seconds back, so that's an over 10-second gap to the car ahead. Sebi 1.3 seconds further back from him. IMTJ 6 seconds back. Deadpool and D2A1 just looking to finish the race and hoping possibly for safety cars or otherwise massive crashes from the guys up ahead so that they can climb positions a little bit. Alrighty, let's see what Putty can do as they go through 14 and onto turn 15. Almost a second all of a sudden made by Moss, but not quickly enough to get the second gap out before the DRS detection line. DRS will be now open, 7/10 of a second. Let's see how powerful this DRS is. Down to 4/10 of a second, so almost 3/10 of a second just in the DRS. So that's the sort of thing that you would have to be looking at when you come onto the pit straight next time. Are you 3/10 of a second behind the guy ahead? Will you be able to make that pass. Obviously, being within that time, you will also start getting the slipstream, and you can see Porty struggling a little bit with the slipstream in the dirty air, but staying right on top of Mars at the moment. 4 tenths back, 3 tenths back, going into 7 and 8. Not the ideal place. You should back off a little bit here just to preserve your tires. Make sure they're not overheating too much. Avoid any chance of contact. But some people do like to race quite aggressively around here and see whether they can pressure their opponent into making a mistake. You can see Moz looks like he is pushing a little bit too hard, getting quite a few snaps of oversteer. And we will see how he does coming out of 14. That gap looks like it is absolutely nothing. He is now 5 tenths. Porty is 5 tenths back from Moz as they go into turn 15. Moz once again pulling a little bit of time out there, but not enough. 6 tenths now the gap. We saw on the previous run that the DRS was worth about 3 tenths. Let's see what it can do now. 6.5 tenths down to 4.5. So only about 3 again this time. Meanwhile, in the background, we have Sebi right behind Mello. So let's see what Sebi can do as they come through turn 15. Sebi 3 tenths back, and we've seen the DRS is worth about that. So this should be an easy pass for Sebi as he gets it, tries to stay in the slipstream of Mello. Mello using his one move, possibly moving across the line a little bit there. Maybe thought that Sebi was a little bit further ahead, but Sebi making that look easy as IMTJ gets the fastest lap of the race here on lap number 16. 17 laps to go, and we are not even halfway through this race, and we have already had so much drama. We've had Sebi with damage early on. We've had IMTJ taken out as he was racing Humid in a very unfortunate event. We've had DJ1 spinning a couple of times. We've had the Dark Fox with floor damage from the sausage curb on the exit on the apex of turn 1. Porty and Moss deciding once again to try it. 6.5 tenths at the start of the straight. Both Porty looking like he is. Oh, Mello has retired from the session. That looks like a crash coming out of turn 12 and into turn 13. Not sure what exactly happened there, but has retired from the session. Looks like the car is still moving. So not terminal damage, but enough for Mello to decide that his race was done. So Porty once again stuck behind that Aston Martin, 5 tenths back, and now will drop back through the second sector as the dirty air starts affecting his traction and makes it almost impossible to follow too closely behind. So going through turn number 12, we could see Porty not doing himself any favors and now dropping back outside of the DRS range of Moz, and it is going to be much more difficult for him to be able to follow. And you can already see from 1.1 seconds at the point of his little slip, he is now 1.3, almost, well, was 1.3 seconds back, and you can see how powerful that DRS is, and having it, he is just not catching this lap. So with Mello and the other Alfa Romeo crashing out, that means that Deadpool and D2A1 have now doubled the number of points that they were going to score. Deadpool getting 2 points from 1 and D2A1 going up to 4 points. Blue flags out for Deadpool. Ghosting is on, so this shouldn't affect the battle, although Porty has managed to catch up 4 tenths of a second, so I wonder if Deadpool's ghost does actually give off some sort of dirty air, and if the Aston Martin driver Moz is maybe struggling with suddenly having dirty air in front of him. I know it can be quite a change. It does change your braking points quite a bit, especially through this this section of the track where there are so many traction zones, so many braking zones, and that has allowed Porty to get very close up. So 3 tenths at the going through turn 14, 5 tenths coming out of it. So Porty does have a problem with turn 14. Moz is taking it quite a bit better, but going down through turn 15 does get a better exit, and let's see if Potty can make it work this time. Although Moz does now have DRS from the back marker ahead of him, and that gives him just enough time to manage to save himself. So I wonder if Moz was actually waiting, not passing the back marker just yet, so that he could use the DRS to defend from Potty. If he was doing that, that is a great strategy call, but it does mean that he is going to be in danger of Potty pulling something at the end of this lap. Deadpool going off the track to allow the other guys through. Even though he is ghosted, it is good etiquette to get out of the way of the guys behind. But Potty and Moss still at it on lap number 19. I do believe this is going to be a two-stop race for quite a few people, so I wonder if these guys are going with a soft, medium, soft run. And that's why they are happy to push these mediums as hard as they possibly can. Potty 6/10 back and dropping back a little bit further, 7/10 as they go through turn 14. Let's see if Moz once again gets a better exit. It doesn't look like he got as good an exit this time. So Potty is generally a little bit quicker through 15 and now 5/10 gap as they head down the pit straight. Potty 5/10 back, 3/10 back, and deciding not going to pass this time, but gets nice and wide out there, forcing Moz onto a slightly more defensive line, and you can see how much that has compromised Moz's run through turns 1, 2, and 3. But Potty has taken quite a there it is. Not a great line through turn 4, and that gives him 3 seconds of penalties for track limits, and Moz now lagging out quite badly over there. That was quite an interesting little bit of lag. Moz lagging out quite badly, Potty having to brake to try and avoid the lagging Moz, and then popping forward where Potty is now 1.5 seconds back. So that is really unfortunate. A little bit of network latency causing such a big issue. Alright, so Potty is now 2 seconds back from Moz. That was really unfortunate. That was obviously that lag that caused so much issues. D2A1 coming into the pits, putting on, let's see what tires he puts on, medium tires, serving a penalty. Looks like must be a sub 5 second penalty for something. So D2A1 serving a penalty, and then looks like he was putting on the medium tires. So while that's all happening, Humid has been out in front, slowly extending his lead at the front of the pack. 21 laps in, 12 laps to go, and Humid has a 15-second lead over second place Moz in the other Aston Martin. So Moz sitting in the other Aston Martin, Potty in third, 2 seconds back, Jarvis 4 seconds back from him, and Venom 1.3 seconds back from his teammate, and that is D2A1 once again in the wall. It looks like he has lost his front wing, and that is a virtual safety car. So that is not what Potty, I'm sure, would have been hoping for. Virtual safety car neutralizes the race, keeps everyone approximately the same distance apart, but you can end up in a situation where you do lose some time to the guys ahead if you end up not taking off at the right time, or going through a section of the track where you can't really keep close to the delta. The delta is incredibly slow through some of these corners, and because of the fact that you could be on one of those corners and someone else could be accelerating out of a corner, you can lose some time. Jarvis taking the opportunity to pit, so this will put him on fresher tires with 11 laps left to go. There's the soft tires, not a bad idea. Sebi coming onto the pit straight, IMTJ coming onto the pit straight, and oh, that is the worst timing for Jarvis. So Jarvis gets half a pit stop free, but it's not quite enough. IMTJ and Sebi both up ahead of him now. So that's going to be useful for the fast lap of the race, but not necessarily for the race itself. IMTJ and Sebi 5th and 6th, both of them very strong normally. So let's see what Jarvis can do if he can make tracks on with those soft tires. But he is going to have to push as hard as he possibly can. DJA1 has now retired from the session in the pits. Maybe just not feeling this track too much damage and not feeling like he's going to get to the end of the race. So DJA1's car pulling over, going through turn 2 and being immediately removed from the track. So no extra VSCs or safety cars or anything like that, immediately being removed from the track. So back to how things are. Porty has managed to make up that time once again and is now within a second of Moz ahead. So Porty pushing as hard as he can, getting up to Moz, going through 7 and 8, down to that 6th, 10th gap that we were so used to seeing before that little bit of lag. So we will keep an eye on this battle going forward. Once again, Porty 3/10 back, so it definitely has something that Moz doesn't at this point. Is definitely more comfortable through the second sector, but it's the third sector which sets you up for the start finish line, and it seems like that's where Moz generally does a little bit better, but not this time. 4/10 back for Porty, but does lose that 2/10 gap going through the turn 15 once again. Porty 4/10 back, 3/10 obviously in the DRS that we worked out earlier. Let's see if that is enough. Moz pulling off the line to try and break the toe. Again, back on it, that is legal. He did leave enough space, but it did put Porty in a bad position, having to brake quite hard to avoid any sort of contact there. Porty going onto the second DRS straight, missing the corner entirely and going very wide. Jarvis 118.552, so that extra pit stop definitely giving him the pace to try and catch the guys out in front as Porty tries to get past the very stubborn Aston Martin of Moz. Behind as they go through this section into 10 and 11. Still very close behind, looking to put pressure on him. Rather than being a little bit more patient, pulling back a little bit and trying to get as good an exit out into this third sector as possible. 4/10 back as they enter turn 14. Looks like he took a little bit too much curve on the outside, pushing them wide once again, but that will give him the better exit out of turn 15. Didn't fall quite as far back as previous laps, so this looks like it might be a slightly better run down the pit straight with DRS open. Let's see if this is the one. No, once again, just hanging it in there, hanging behind, deciding not to try and go for that overtake just yet, not wanting to go for a dangerous overtake and end up losing the race entirely through damage. Gets a little bit of oversteer there, 4/10 here, or 5/10 here, down to the end with DRS, 2/10 of a second gained almost, but then almost immediately lost, and then a snap of oversteer. So Porty definitely struggling with those tires, possibly overheating them behind the Aston Martin of Moz, and just trying so hard to push, getting another snap of oversteer, going up the corner of 8. So Porty pushing as hard as he possibly can, trying to ask those tires to do everything they possibly can to make this gap disappear and to get him ahead of his opponent. And Venom is taking advantage of that. Venom only 3 seconds back now, within sight of these two, and will be pushing as hard as he can as well to try and catch up to them. Seeing that yellow, that orange of the McLaren, he will be wanting a little bit of this fight. In the meantime, IMTJ has caught up to Sebi, and they are coming onto the pit straight as well. 5/10 back, 5.5 cents back. So we did see this put Porty quite close to Moz when he was this far back. Sebi is a little bit further forward, not flashing or anything, so I wonder if he's saved up some ERS, and IMTJ is going to have quite a battle on his hands. 5 tenths back, 6 tenths back, going up into turn 4 and onto the second of the DRS straights. DRS open once again, what looked like about 1.5 tenths, Deadpool 3-second penalty for track limits. So IMTJ staying behind Sebi, keeping the same sort of gap, not doing the same catch, drop, catch, drop, catch, drop that Potty was doing. I wonder if that will work out a little bit better for him, but in the meantime, let's go back to Potty and Moz as they come into the final sector once again, go into turns 14, 15, 14 once again, getting very high up onto that curve there, taking a very wide line through there, possibly trying to maximize his or minimize his angle on exit and get as good an exit as possible, but Moz is just that little bit too quick for that to happen. And 5 tenths back once again. In the meantime, IMTJ and Sebi, IMTJ 3 tenths back. Potty once again has stayed behind, but IMTJ is 3 tenths back. Potty now getting 3-second penalty for track limits, so that is definitely going to hinder his passing. IMTJ makes the pass on Sebi. Sebi tucks back in behind him, lets him through after going to the defensive line and not being fast enough to actually keep up. Sebi slots in behind into 6th place as IMTJ takes 5th position. So IMTJ making the pass that Potty has been trying to make for so long now, and setting a fastest sector as well in the first sector. So IMTJ definitely has some pace left in him, but now Sebi is going to be the one who is going to be looking to try and catch up. In the meantime, Potty 3 tenths back as they go into the 3rd sector. Once again, a little bit of a snap of oversteer, but let's see if he can make it work. Staying right in that gearbox of the Aston Martin as they go through into 14 and 15. Potty taking a much leaner line through there this time. 4 tenths back. Looks like it was definitely the right choice. 3 tenths back. 3 tenths comes out of the DRS, so let's see if he can do it, if he can get alongside. Definitely getting alongside. We have Deadpool bring out a yellow flag. That's absolutely fine. Potty now gets past and will now need to get a couple of seconds up the road to get rid of that penalty. 6 seconds in 5 laps is very unlikely, especially with Moz showing the pace that he has been showing, but Potty might be thinking of Venom behind. Venom with a 3-second penalty within the 3 seconds of Potty there, and so that will be something that Potty will be having to think of, and if he has to keep fighting Moz, that is going to be even more difficult to keep that position. In the meantime, Sebi and IMTJ are continuing to fight. Sebi wanting that position back, not quite fast enough through the DRS zones, and having to sit behind through sector 2 sector 2 and 3 once again will obviously set himself up on the start finish straight. Okay, in the meantime, let's watch Moz and see whether he makes up as much time as it looked like he was pulling away in this final sector. Yes, he does make up almost a tenth for a moment there, but immediately loses it as Potty gets onto the pit straight itself, but will still have DRS. Potty moving to the right hand side to break the toe. Moz not needing it. Moz pushing and not deciding to go for the move this time, a little bit too far back. Sebi and IMTJ, in the meantime, IMTJ pulling to the right hand side to break the toe. Sebi getting close, going to the outside, looking for the cutback, but not quite close enough. Pulls in behind into turn 3. Looks at a wider line through turn 4, which will give him a better exit. So let's see whether he can do this. 1.5 seconds is what we saw earlier. It doesn't look like it. 1.5 tenths was what we saw earlier. It wasn't quite enough. IMTJ takes quite a bit of that curve on the outside. On the inside, Sebi takes a little bit more of a straight line through there, a V line, but not making much time up. And now 4 tenths back once again. So these guys are providing us with immense entertainment. Obviously they would be frustrated with the fact that they haven't managed to actually get past as quickly and as often as they'd like. Potty now fighting with Mars, and Venom has now joined the party as well. Venom, a 3-second penalty as well. Might have not have chewed up his tires as much as the two in front of him, who have been fighting the entire time. So let's see what Mars can do. Mars goes to the outside of the corner, cuts back in and gets ahead of Potty once again. Venom will now be looking at this and licking his lips, because Potty does look like he is slowing a little bit. It does look like Potty has used up quite a bit of his tires, maybe struggling with traction a little, but that has put him very much within range of Venom, and Venom will be looking to pass him soon in the next couple of laps. There are only 3 laps to go, so he does have to do it soon. But I'm sure with the amount of space between these 3, we are going to see a couple of changes before the end of the race. IMTJ and Sebi also fighting behind these 3. In fact, 6.8 seconds back, but Sebi only 0.4 back from IMTJ. Venom pulling back a little bit, maybe thinking that the guys ahead are a little bit dangerously close, and deciding that he doesn't want to get involved in any as a collateral damage. Porty getting another snap of oversteer, so definitely struggling with those tires, as Venom is now right on top of the 2 of them. Through 14, you can see Venom is taking a much tighter line, hoping to get a better exit. It does get quite a good exit, but Porty and Mars have got a good exit as well, so this is going to come down to something. That is, if Mars moves again, that is not going to be legal, but it looks like he is sticking to his line. Potty going to the inside line, going a little bit defensive, going way wide, and Venom taking advantage, getting into there it is. And those tires on Potty's car are obviously crying out for help as we come towards the end of the race, and you can see it in the fact that the other guys do seem to have such better traction than he does through the windy sections of the track. But they are staying right on top of each other. Venom deciding he now wants a piece of Moz, and looks like he will be able to take it as well. IMTJ and Sebi just keeping position for now as well behind them. So up through turn 8, we haven't seen anyone spin there since D2A1 early in the race, so very well done to the drivers for keeping it going through that corner, which is so easy to lose it through. Venom is now 3/10 behind. Mars gets a better line through there, is looking at a much more aggressive line as he goes through here. Less than 0.3 of a second behind Mars. Mars looks like he might be struggling a little bit with tires as well. He is, however, behind Deadpool, so I wonder if he's slowing down once again to go over the DRS detection zone and get the DRS from the McLaren of Deadpool. It looks like he will do exactly that. DRS open, there it is. Okay, so Venom and Moz once again having to keep position. 1 or 2 laps left until the end of the race, this one and then at lap 33 itself. Venom right on top of Moz as they go through 3 and gets a very wide line through there. That is going to give him an excellent exit onto this straight, the second DRS straight. Does have a little bit more ERS, looks at the inside, decides against it, tucks back in behind Moz, and that means that he is once again still in danger of Potty trying to get past him. Potty might be looking at his time penalties and thinking, no, let's just keep this going, but he cannot do that because IMTJ and Sebi are now within that time limit as well. So Potty looking to lose a very large number of positions here. It looks like at least two positions if he doesn't get a move on and get ahead of these guys, or these guys don't stop fighting and start pushing ahead. We are actually on lap 33 as Human crosses the start finish line. Almost forgot about him. 22 seconds ahead of the action here as he gets 3-second penalty, just to remind us that he's around. Venom 3.5 back. We've seen what the DRS can do. We've seen it. That was a very interesting move by Mars, but not enough. And Venom gets past, going on to the final lap of the race. Will Mars be able to get him back on the second DRS straight, or has he timed it to perfection? Let's see how this goes as they go through turn 4. Mars does not look like he got as good a line through turn 4 as Venom did. Potty 1.3 seconds back, so not so much a part of this anymore. Mars looks like he is going to have to settle for 3rd place. Such a good race. Or 3rd place on the track at least. In the meantime, Sebi has gone for a lunge down the inside, IMTJ looking on at the cutback, and the two of them going side by side down towards turns 7 and 8. This is the last lap. This is the last opportunity. IMTJ looking to make a move. Is he going to be able to? Does get a bit of a tighter line through 7 and 8. And these guys only 2/10 back on the apart on the final lap of the race. IMTJ taking much more aggressive lines through this section. Sebi trying to defend with the inside lines the entire way through. IMTJ will be trying to push and push and push, but is 5/10 back, and that is not ideal. With the finish line being as close to the start of the straight as it is, we have a yellow flag in sector 3. I don't think it's anything to worry about. It looks like this is the way that the race will end, and Porty drops down so far. That is really unfortunate for him, but we have an excellent winner. Jarvis retired from the session. Oh no. I hope that didn't... He might be fine. I think Deadpool was a lap back from Jarvis, so I think he will still get that that finish. But I hope he was actually across the line there. So well done to Humid. A dominating display out in front. 6 seconds of penalties, but that really doesn't mean anything when you're that far ahead. 17 seconds behind with Moz. Venom in 3rd place. Sebi in 4th. IMTJ in 5th place. Porty, that chunk of time lost to those time penalties, putting him down in 6th place. So that's really unfortunate on his side. Oz showing how important it is to race clean around these tracks, avoiding any time penalties for going off track, and gaining that position that he lost back at the end of the race. Jarvis in 7th place. Looks like he was a lap up from Deadpool, so does show as a finisher and does get the fastest lap as well. Deadpool finishing the race in 8th position will get 4 points for that, so that's all you need. You just need to finish the race and you're likely to get points with how volatile things are in the sport. D2A1, Mellow and the Dark Fox unfortunately not finishing the race. And that is really unfortunate, especially with the circumstances around how that happened. And with that, thank you very much, everyone. It has been an absolute pleasure to host you guys, and we hope to see you again once again next time. Good evening.